What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from Marvel, DC, and even IDW as well. But today, we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics, and we are going to continue our coverage over the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, today, we're going to cover Ultimate Avengers versus New Ultimates. This is a very important book right here because when Mark Millar wrote Ultimate Avengers 1, 2, and 3, his goal was to work up to this point right here, to have a civil war in the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization between the two teams, the New Ultimates and the Avengers. So if you do like today's comic book video, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. I do hope you enjoy today's video. So the story begins with us seeing a random train just minding its business and heading down a certain train track, except one of the men who is controlling the train sees something. Of course, it is Thor's hammer, which Thor's hammer cannot move unless it is Thor moving it. And so of course, it leads to the train just being wrecked thanks to how strong Thor's hammer is. But we see some of the Ultimates are there for something that is on the train. Now we do see Captain America and Thor, but the question is, who are the other two people with them? But then the story jumps back 24 hours where we pick up at the end of Ultimate Avengers 3. Remember that in that story, it was all about vampires, and to save the day, Captain America used Perun's hammer to teleport the Triskelion to Iran because it was sunny and to kill off the vampires. Now, this section was not used as a way to remind us what happened in the previous story. This section was used to introduce us to Scott Lang in this universe, who is one of the many giant men that was made after Hank Pym. But Scott Lang is actually a scientist in this universe, and we're going to see a whole lot more of him from now on. But also, we have to remember that at the end of Ultimate Avengers 3, that the team found out that Tony Stark was badly injured. The big question at the end of that story was, will he survive? And so we pick up with Thor using his powers to teleport Tony Stark from Iran to the States to help save his life. But we pick up with Monica Chang, who in this universe again is the ex-wife of Nick Fury, but we learn that she is really on both the Avengers and the Ultimates team. She works secretly for Carol Danvers, hoping to find out what Nick Fury plans because Carol Danvers does not trust Nick Fury. We know that Nick Fury plans to regain control of S.H.I.E.L.D., but for right now, he is leading the Avengers team, which is the Black Ops team. But this section is more of her kind of telling us what happened in Ultimate Avengers 3. But also we find out she and Nick Fury has a son. I don't think Nick knows about the child just yet, but the biggest thing is that now everyone knows that Tony Stark has a brain tumor. The reason why I make that last sentence a big deal, Tony Stark only told Captain America and Thor about the brain tumor back in, I want to say, the original Ultimates run. But with him being in the hospital, doctors told everyone about it, including his girlfriend, Carol Danvers. Matter of fact, his own brother, Gregory Stark, didn't even know about the tumor either, to show that Tony did not want anyone to know about the brain tumor at all. Now you have Carol Danvers calling a meeting, and this meeting is about how a new prototype super soldier has been stolen from one of Gregory Stark's facilities. Now Scott Lang is going to be joining the team, but this is big because remember, in some of our past stories, including Ultimate Captain America, that the super soldier plans are being worked on by other countries, and if they fall into the wrong hands, who knows what will happen. And so the team is sent out to Bulgaria to deal with retrieving the super soldier prototype. Now you also have Carol Danvers mention that someone on the inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. is making money to exchange the plans for the super soldier program to other countries. And the question is, who though? And so you have Nick Fury team try to figure that out. So jumping back to the beginning of this story where we saw the Ultimates stopping a train, we saw Captain America, Thor, we now know Scott Lang was there as well, and Monica Chang. But the train we saw earlier, the people who stole the prototype super soldier were using the train to transport it. And so after the train wreck we saw earlier, we see the Ultimates go down to the wreck, where they're confronted by the super soldier prototype. Except the man who was the prototype dies in front of the Ultimates because the experiment went wrong. After the man dies, you have Captain America ask the scientist what is going on here, where he tells Captain America that they were transporting the prototype to China because China hates being behind America in the super genetic race. Except the big thing is that they were using S.H.I.E.L.D. transporters to deliver it to China, meaning that someone on the inside is helping China. And the scientist said it was Nick Fury. But we pick up with Nick Fury, who is visiting the Punisher in prison, where we see Nick Fury trying to recruit the Punisher to join the Avengers team again. Except, of course, the Punisher hated it last time. But you have Nick Fury offer the Punisher the keys to every single prison cell, meaning that once the mission is complete, the Punisher can come back here and kill every single person who he thinks deserves to be killed. And so of course the Punisher says yes. Then we see Nick Fury go and meet up with Blade, and we saw Blade back in Ultimates Avengers 3, where he was put on the spotlight in that book because it was based around vampires. Now the reason why we are seeing him is because again, Nick Fury is trying to recruit Blade to join his crew, the Avengers. But just like the Punisher, Nick Fury has to offer him something that will make him want to join the team. And so you have Nick Fury tell Blade that he has Deacon Frost, the man who killed Blade's mother and who is responsible for Blade being half vampire since Blade's mother was pregnant when Deacon Frost came around. Then we get another page where we see that Hawkeye is going to join the team as well, which continues the big thing that Hawkeye is part of both the Avengers and the Ultimates team. But in this book, it seems like he is going to help the Avengers. Now this leads into a big retcon in the Ultimate Marvel universe. Remember, we covered the Ultimate Iron Man Volume 1 and Volume 2 that was supposed to be the origin of Iron Man in this universe. Mark Miller retcons and says that the origin was basically a TV show in the Ultimate Marvel universe. Is huge because no one else really mentions that origin in their stories before this book. Now we see the Avengers team is trying to intercept Project Maximus, which is a different form of the super soldier serum. Now this is going to be a huge thing right here because what we see is this small old man and these other guys go into a private room to discuss the exchange, where of course you had the Avengers team move in and kill everybody except the old man. The problem is that when the Punisher thinks he has everything under control, we see the Punisher flying out the window. Wondering what in the world just happened to him, we find out that the old man is Tyrone Cash, the other Hulk in this universe we met in Ultimate Avengers 2. And he is the one trying to sell the Maximus project to someone else. And so with Tyrone Cash being here, we get to see him in the Avengers fight. Well, really, it is more of War Machine fighting against Tyrone Cash because War Machine is the only person who really stands a chance to go one-on-one with Tyrone Cash, who is classified as a Hulk. But this is just like all of those fights between Iron Man and Bruce Banner Hulk, with the Hulk usually winning the fight. And so just like this fight, you have Tyrone Cash being able to win the fight against War Machine. Except you have Blade step up and begins to use his powers to hypnotize Tyrone Cash, which of course makes him stop attacking, but it also makes Tyrone Cash turn back into his regular form. Now, this is not the most important part of this section of the book. What really is important is that you have Tyrone Cash tell the Avengers that he is secretly working for Carol Danvers, meaning that she's the one on the inside selling secrets, and he says that she has been doing it for years. The book is basically making each team thinking that the other person is the traitor and selling American government secrets to other countries. Now we pick up with Thor. Now the reason why I'm covering this part is, for one, we see Jane Foster. This is actually not her first appearance in this universe. She first appeared in Ultimates number 4, I think for a hot second, and she was a nurse, but now she is living with Thor as his new girlfriend. The man has quickly moved on from Valkyrie, but the second thing I want to point out is that Thor is telling Jane Foster and us that all the clues are pointing to Nick Fury being behind the fact that the super soldier secrets are being sold to other countries, and he has been doing it for years. But now they say he could be behind the invasion that took place in Ultimates 2. And so this is pretty big if it's all true. But picking up with Iron Man, we see him right now trying to leave the hospital, where the story is representing that maybe his brain tumor is now gone. Either way, the man bought the hospital and he is getting ready to leave to go help the Ultimates deal with this Nick Fury problem. Now we do jump back over to Carol Danvers, where we see her dealing with the fact that the Triskelion is still in Iran and they are trying to move it back over to the United States. Also the fact that she is trying to figure out how to deal with the Nick Fury problem that is going on. Except this leads into Nick Fury appearing into the Triskelion, where Carol Danvers quickly begins to fire at him because she and the Ultimates believe that he is a traitor. Except of course this man came prepared. The dude has a force field to protect him from the bullets, but this man also has War Machine here as well, and his goal is to wipe everyone out right at the moment. Except you have Iron Man come in and save Gregory Stark and Carol Danvers at the very last second. And this is going to lead into Iron Man and War Machine fighting it out. Now remember that Rhodey hates Iron Man in this universe because Iron Man almost got him killed before. And so this is going to be a heated battle. Now the Avengers are here to capture Carol Danvers because remember, the Avengers were told that Carol Danvers is the traitor, but also the Ultimates were told that Nick Fury is the traitor. Long story short, the Avengers have captured Carol Danvers, except they now have to get away with her but still fight off the Ultimates as well. And so we do get this big epic battle, but Nick Fury has to leave soon before Captain America or Thor shows up, and then bam, Captain America appears and he is ready to take down Nick Fury. And so with that happening, everybody is involved in this fight except two people. The Punisher is one of them, but he has his sniper pointed on Captain America waiting for a good shot. The second one is Thor, and no one on the Avengers team can truly go up against Thor, and so their goal is to wrap this up before Thor shows up. But this story actually leads into the death of the Spider-Man story. We are going to cover that story next week. But while everyone is fighting against each other, this leads into the Punisher taking a shot at Captain America. But right when Captain America was supposed to be shot, Spider-Man jumps in front of the bullet and he is shot. Like I said though, this story leads into the Ultimate Spider-Man story, the death of Spider-Man. Either way though, you have everyone realize that Spider-Man has been shot, a teenager has been shot, and people don't know what to do. Now this point right here, we are going to reference back to in the next few videos with the Ultimate Marvel Universe. But you have a few S.H.I.E.L.D. agents come in and actually capture the Punisher and Nick Fury, where it seems that this whole thing is going to be wrapped up. But that is when we see that War Machine has flown by. War Machine had fired a missile down on the bridge, and so the fight began all over again between the two teams. Well, it never really stopped between the two teams, just between Captain America and the Punisher. Now this fight ends with the Avengers losing the battle and everyone being captured. Now some time has passed and we pick up with Gregory Stark, who is visiting the White House, where he continues to paint the picture that Nick Fury was the traitor and he was working with other countries that could lead to another invasion by other countries. Apparently, once the US is taken over, they were going to place Nick Fury into the White House. Now the president is not happy with the fact what happened in the middle of New York, because this was basically a civil war between the Avengers and the Ultimates, who both work for S.H.I.E.L.D. And so this made Carol Danvers look bad as well, but also Carol Danvers has brain damage and is being kept in a hospital, and so someone has to run S.H.I.E.L.D. and the president selects Gregory Stark to run S.H.I.E.L.D. Now this leads to the Ultimates chilling in Tony Stark's home, but this is more of a mixture of the Ultimates giving us an update of everything that had happened so far, which is not needed. The real big thing about this section is that Monica Chang is the only one on the Ultimates who does not believe that Nick Fury is a traitor, that to her, he is being set up. The question is, who in the world is doing it and why would they do it for? And so you had the story shift over to Gregory Stark and some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents escorting Nick Fury, where it seems that they're going to kill him or lock him up. Either way, you have Nick Fury state that it was Gregory Stark who set up both Nick Fury and Carol Danvers. Now the reason why is because he is trying to give rogue states super soldiers to set up a pro-democracy. A lot of countries out there don't have democracy, and there are groups out there trying to change that. But his main goal is to have a Triskelion in other countries to kind of set up this umbrella effect, where all of these other countries would have to answer to Gregory Stark. But you have Nick Fury get shot by a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent as a way to say that Nick Fury is not going to stay around to cause a problem for Gregory Stark. But then the story shifts back 5 days ago, and this is important because we pick up when the Avengers discovered that Carol Danvers could be a traitor because they were told by Tyrone Cash. Nick Fury realized that he needs a plan to stop the corruption that is going on in S.H.I.E.L.D. And so you have Nick Fury ask Tyrone Cash how he makes himself a Hulk, where you have Tyrone Cash go on to say that he has pills that make him turn into a Hulk. And so you have the Avengers take him to his house where they have him show where his pills are at. Once they have the pills, you have Nick Fury kill Tyrone Cash. And so the Avengers have pills that can turn them into Hulks. So when we jump back into the present day, that is what we see. Nick Fury, the Punisher, Hawkeye, and Blade all hulked out. It is freaking amazing to see them like this. But see, Gregory Stark is smarter than his brother Tony Stark. And so Gregory Stark built him a suit that can protect him and give him an edge to fight against superheroes, which of course he is fighting a team of heroes who have hulked out. But you have Gregory Stark push most of the Avengers off the helicarrier that was in the air, except he made sure to hold on to Nick Fury. Now we jump over to North Korea, where you have this country be the example of what I stated earlier, that there are countries out there who don't have democracy, but there are groups in those countries who are trying to build a democracy. And so what Gregory Stark did was give those small groups who are trying to change their country different super soldier stuff. For example, the Giant Men, but also the group in North Korea, they are being led by the Spider, and we met him in Ultimate Comics Avengers #1. And he is another creation of Gregory Stark. But again, Gregory Stark is trying to change the world that will lead to his umbrella effect. Now the Ultimates see what is happening in North Korea, and so the question is, why haven't they been sent out to deal with that problem? Where you have Gregory Stark tell his brother Tony and the rest of the Ultimates that they'll be breaking so many different international laws that they can't simply go out there and stop these rogue super soldiers in North Korea. And so you have the Ultimates wondering what they can do. Do they stop the freedom fighters, or do they fight with the freedom fighters to stop communists in that country? It is literally a big question on what they can do, and not even Captain America has a plan for what they can do. Except this leads into the big moment, because you have the Spider and all of these Giant Men just wreaking havoc through North Korea, where it seems that North Korea will be the first to fall under the Gregory Stark umbrella effect. But there is a bolt of lightning in the sky, and when the Spider looks over to see who it is, of course it is the Ultimates who are there. The Spider was told by Gregory Stark that the Ultimates could not step in because of international laws, except that is when you have Captain America tell the Spider that he knows that all of them are working for Gregory Stark, and they were told by the Avengers. And so we see the Avengers and the Ultimates have teamed up to take on this army of super soldiers in North Korea. I love this moment so much because you have the Spider as Captain America. What makes them think they stand a chance? With the Avengers and the Ultimates working together, they have a total of 9 people. Compared to the army of super soldiers in North Korea, it is over 100 of them. And you have Captain America tell them that they started using their powers recently. For the Ultimates and the Avengers, they have been doing this for years. And so they began to do battle, but their goal is to wrap this up quickly before word gets out to other countries what is happening in North Korea. Also, Gregory Stark found out what the Ultimates and the Avengers have done, and so you have him leave Nick Fury to go deal with the Ultimates and the Avengers. And so you have Gregory Stark go to North Korea, who begins the process of beating down on the Ultimates and the Avengers, where you have Gregory Stark explain that he is trying to bring democracy to the world, but of course it is still him wanting to have the world under his control. Now the main point of this section is that we see Gregory Stark have picked up Thor's hammer and begin to use the hammer against the other heroes. Remember, only Thor should be able to pick up the hammer, but as we see here, Gregory Stark is able to. Now, while the heroes do get beaten down by Gregory Stark, you have Iron Man come in and smash Gregory Stark into the ground. It's about to begin a battle between the brothers. Now this is really not a battle between the two brothers, because you have Gregory Stark actually begin the process of beating down on Tony, where you have Gregory talk some mad smack towards Tony about how Gregory is 10 times smarter than his brother, that if his brother Tony does not back off, Gregory will kill him. Now you have Tony tell Gregory that he forgot one thing Tony has put inside his suit, which was an EMP that takes out technology temporarily. And so you have Tony set off the EMP, which of course knocks everything out in the area. Now Tony tells the team that they only have 15 seconds to stop Gregory before his tech powers back up. And so Thor took that as a way to say, kill off Gregory. And so Thor kills Gregory Stark with a bolt of lightning. And Tony really meant was to knock out Gregory, not to kill him off, but now Gregory Stark is dead in Ultimate Marvel. Now we learned that in Iran, a similar thing happened out there, that North Korea was a way to keep the world's eye on that situation, while Iran also tries to install pro-democracy. We learned from the heroes from Great Britain that the Iran situation was handled better, that only a small group of superpower people stormed the city hall of Iran and forced the country to change things. But we also learned that the president and the American government had decided that Carol Danvers is going to be forced to retire as the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., handing things back over to Nick Fury. And the main reason why they decided to do this is because of the death of Spider-Man. A kid hero had died. And again, we are going to cover that in Ultimate Spider-Man, the Death of Spider-Man book. And so with that, and they almost had World War III, they forced her to quit. And so the story ends with the idea of Nick Fury being the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. again. Also the fact that now Iran is pro-democracy, and so with that, they're going to leave the Triskelion over there while they build a new one in the States. So to be honest, I like this book a lot, but you can tell in this book that Mark Millar had a goal. You can definitely tell in this book that Mark Millar had a goal to take Ultimate Marvel back to what it was before he left Ultimate Marvel Universe, really. Because honestly, with Ultimate Avengers 1, 2, and 3, you can tell that this book right here was his end goal. To have a civil war between the Ultimates and the Avengers, a civil war in the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization, but also after he left Ultimate Marvel, these other writers came in and took up where he left off at, but honestly did not do a good job with those titles. Prime example, Jeff Loeb in Ultimates 3. That right there was a prime example of, this is not Mark Millar's Ultimates, this is Jeff Loeb Ultimates, and they are completely different. That was not good. After Ultimate X-Men, Brian Michael Bendis came over. Now, Bendis did do a good job with Ultimate X-Men with his 2 stories, but after he left, bam, the X-Men team kind of fell apart. Now, when it came to Ultimate Fantastic Four, Mark Millar only did like a couple stories here and there, but again, it really did help out Ultimate Fantastic Four. But once he left, that title right there fell apart. My point is that it's him saying that, hey, the Ultimate Marvel Universe is mine and Brian Michael Bendis' thing. It's our thing. We made this universe what it was. And now we see how bad it changed. We're trying to take things back to what it was before these other writers came in and try to make things so complicated. And that was his end goal, to kind of push out a lot of things. He pushed out the Iron Man origin. He kind of pushed out Jeff Loeb Ultimates out of the way and said, this right here is the Ultimates. This is the team that I made, and I'm bringing them back, and that is final. That was it, truthfully. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video right here. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I'll see y'all next time. Later.